safe space. We ain't never give a reason you should hide. Compile all your questions, we're taking the quest. Join Tarsha on this journey to discover the rest. Go.
Welcome to the Adoption Journey podcast. I am your host, Tarsha Smith, and welcome to another journey. I'm going to dive right in today. You all already know to subscribe. I don't have to keep telling you. I have a fellow adoptee with me by the name of Chanelle Harris. Hello, Chanelle. Thank you so much for joining us. I had the opportunity to meet Chanelle live and in living color a couple of months back. I'm so excited to do. I love when I'm able to meet you all in person. So I'm going to kick off with my very first favorite question. How old were you when you found out that you were adopted?
I think I was like 5, but I always knew that I was not with my biological family.
Oh, how'd you know that?
My parents, they were very older. I want to say they were in their 40s when they took.
I'm offended.
No, I'm not saying like that. I'm saying like they had already raised their children.
Joking.
So, no, I'm lying. They were in their 50s.
Still offended. Go ahead.
Because I had to think at the end. They were in their late 40s, early 50s. And okay. I just, like, I have those memories where I remember the social worker coming to the house. Like,
oh, really?
Asking us questions, like, you know, asking us, do we feel safe? Like, asking us who all lives in the home.
Oh, wait, you're saying us. Oh.
So us as in, it was 4 of us. We're all 2 years apart. My 2 older sisters, they're biological sisters. And me and my younger sister, we're biological sisters.
Okay, so they adopted 2 sets of siblings?
Yes.
Did they have any children of their own? You just said they had adult children.
My parents, yes, they have 3 children of their own.
That were adults?
Yep.
And then they came and adopted.
Then their kids had kids. Their grandchildren were our age. So we were all being raised together.
That is so interesting. Because you know what I'm not doing at this age? That.
Yeah.
Do you know why they did that?
So the family is tricky. So I'll just say that. So
take me on this roller coaster because it sounds real interesting.
So my mom and my mom are best friends.
I'm sorry, your mom and your who?
I call her mama, grandma.
Okay.
Mama, are best friends. So when people hear us say my mom and my mama, they're thinking I'm saying like my mom and my mom's mom.
That's exactly what I thought you said.
It's really my mom and my mama, which are best friends, and they raised us all together.
Okay, so who is grandma?
So my grandma, she is my legal adoptive parent.
Okay. And then your mom, are you meaning your biological?
No, my mom is my mom's best friend, but we were all raised
together.
She's mommy and she's my mom.
Got you.
Yeah.
So I'm with you now.
Okay. So
you called your adoptive mom. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. Mama and mommy was mommy.
Okay.
Yep.
Got you. So
the siblings that my mommy adopted, they still call her mommy and they call mama.
Okay. So at 5, did somebody tell you, did they sit down and have the conversation?
Yeah. My mama, she said, I know she sat me down. I can't, speak for my other sister, but I know she sat me down and asked me, she asked, how would you feel if, we adopted you and your sister?
Mm-hmm.
And my response was, well, I thought we were already adopted. Like, because that's the only family that I know.
Right.
Yeah. So she explained like what the process would be. She asked me if I would like to change any part of my name. So I changed my middle name and I changed my last name.
Okay, let me ask you a question. At 5, would you have been okay changing your first name and not confused?
My first name.
But what if they would have changed it? If you didn't like it and you would have changed it,
She
do
would
you
have
think you
asked
would
me
have
if
been
I wanted
confused?
to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder about that because you hear about that kids being this old and having a whole name change.
Yeah, she
And by
asked us
5,
like,
like, you know your name.
yeah, our what's funny is our my adoption was open.
Okay.
So I already knew at a young age, I already knew my biological family, my mom name, dad name, the brothers' names, the maternal
Ah,
grandma name, addresses that they stayed at. Like we had all that on paper.
okay. Did you see them?
I've
Biological?
never saw them until I found them.
Okay. We'll get there. Hold on.
We'll get there
We'll
because
get
I
there.
have a hope. Don't forget, Chanelle. I have a
Oh,
story.
I'm not going to let you forget. We going to get there.
Okay.
Okay. 5 years old, you change your middle name. They have this conversation. Two sets of adopted
Mm-hmm.
siblings. And do you feel out of place or do you just feel like this normal?
The only time I felt out of place is when we used to go to the doctor and they would ask family history,
Mm,
and I could never give them. I always gave them the history of my parents because that's all I could give them.
I did the same thing for
That's
years.
that's all I could give them. So yeah.
And I don't even know if I felt funny about it. I just know that's just what I did. And not till I had my own kids did I
Mm-hmm.
start going, oh, I should maybe stop doing that because that's not accurate. But
I
as a,
know, like when I went to college and I was in the financial aid office and I had to fill out some paperwork. My parents were with me. I had to fill out some paperwork. And that's when it like hit me. Like I broke down. It hit me that I had to put, you know,
mm,
information that I didn't know
yeah,
down for like financial aid. Like I had to
right.
put, and that I think that was a moment I was just like, man, this sucks. Like,
But it's interesting. But you had an open adoption, and
mm-hmm.
they still didn't have that information, the medical history information.
No medical history. Because we
Oh,
feel
that's
like I was
interesting.
left at the hospital. Like I was at the hospital, and my mom she had a friend that worked for DHS at the time. Like because my
Hmm.
parents they were respite foster care parents at the time,
Okay,
and then they did and then they had a few kids at the time until they were placed back with their parents. And then by the time I came along, it was my mom friend asked her like, hey, I have this new baby. She's at the hospital. And ever since then, my mom came to the hospital to see me, and I've been with her ever since.
got you.
And then 2 years
Okay,
later, when my younger sister was born, my mom was like, I'm older, like I can't take any more kids. But she
yeah.
always said like everybody else had a sibling, like
Mm.
everybody else had somebody else, and I didn't. So she didn't want me to be alone. So she went to the hospital and saw my sister, and she's been with us.
Oh, God bless
We've been
her.
together ever since.
God bless her.
Ever
For
since.
real, God bless her.
Ever since.
And did she, because your younger sister, she's biological to you,
Mm-hmm.
and so she knew that this woman was giving birth again. Let me
Mm-hmm.
go get this baby as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to know what was going on with your mom that you guys couldn't stay? Your biological
Um,
mom?
I know it was like drug related.
Okay.
So, but at the time, like when we were old enough to read our papers, my sister and I we read it together,
Mm,
and to read that two stayed, two brothers stayed. Then there was another brother, but he didn't stay, and then my sister and I came along and we couldn't stay.
how did that make you feel?
Why did they get to stay and we couldn't?
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. At what age do you read this?
Maybe I was like 12, like 10 and 12, between 10 and 12.
That's still a young age to have that kind of information
Mm-hmm.
to evoke those types of feelings. Like, why did they get to stay and we had to go? Even though life sounds like life was good where you
Mm-hmm.
were, but you still were questioning, like, why did she keep them?
Yeah, because I
Got
remember
you.
like growing up, I used to pick my skin because I thought I had black kids, and now that I'm older, I know they're not black kids; they're moles.
Mm.
And later in life, I found out where that mole
Where
trait
it's
came
coming
from. But I
from.
used to pick my face all the time and question like, well, why am I brown skin and my sister is light skin?
Mm.
And
Whether
my sister, she was the only light skinned sibling in the house. So I know that bothered her too. Like, why everybody else is brown and I'm lighter?
mm-hmm,
So, like, those questions used to.
that colorism complex.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So life was good and we are just living life. I'm surprised they let you read those papers so young.
When I tell you, my parents, they open books.
I don't know that I would have done that
They
young
are
though. I
like,
appreciate that and I get that, but I don't think I would have given you that information at 10.
I feel like as I got older, my mom always told me, she was like, out of everybody else, she was like, Chanelle, you were the only one that wanted to know where you came from. And I didn't
Okay.
want to keep that from you. And she said,
Got
I
you.
knew when you got older and you were ready, you were going to find them
Mm-hmm.
because that bothered you so much that you didn't know where you came from. And I want you to know where you came from.
Mm. How
Like
did she know
I'm
if
not
it
gonna say my
bothered
younger
you?
sister
I'm sorry.
didn't
Go ahead.
care. Like, I'm not gonna say that, but I think, everybody process stuff differently. And just for me, like I needed to know.
Mm-hmm. I get that.
So she made sure I had access to whatever I needed, so when that day came, I would be able to look for him.
Why do you think you felt so strongly about needing to know?
So I wanted to know why my hair was so thick, why I had to be the only one under the age of 10 to get a perm because my mom just couldn't maintain my hair. I wanted to know why was I so athletic because my sister, she didn't play sports. So why was I so athletic?
Mm-hmm.
And then why was I short and my sister is tall?
So you had
And
all
like
of
just
the.
like in my cheekbones, I had a math teacher and she was so intrigued by my cheekbones. She asked, she was like, is your family from Jamaica or Africa? And she said, I'm not asking you that to be
Mm.
smart. She was like, I'm asking because you have very prominent cheekbones, like they're very beautiful, and I just was curious to know, and that always stuck with me. Like, well, where who has cheekbones like me?
Mm.
So little
I had
little
those
stuff
kinds of
like that.
questions looking at people. For me, it was the nose.
Okay,
I found my nose when I,
I found
I
my
found this
cheekbones.
nose. So you
Yep.
understand.
Yeah.
Found it.
Yep.
And I would look at people growing up looking for this nose. And never did I see it until I actually found my people.
Mm.
Never did I see it. So I totally get that. At what age do you, besides having that paperwork at 10, at
Mm-hmm.
what age do you set out, or let me ask you this, you have this information because it's an open adoption,
Mm-hmm.
but do you just use the paperwork? Do you use the internet?
So we never used it. I kept it like underneath my bed. Like my mom, they gave it to me, so it was like underneath my bed. I remember one summer, I think I had to be like 14, and I like went through the yellow pages. Like, yeah, right, right, right. I sat down at the table with my cousins and we went through the yellow pages and we called every name of my biological father. We called almost every name, not thinking in our heads that it's 10 o'clock at night. We're kids calling somebody's house, asking
And
for a
to say
man.
what? To say what? Where were you?
We don't
What was
even
the
know.
plan?
We didn't even. After about 20, you have the wrong number. I was done with it.
20? That's a lot.
That's a lot. And
That's
and
that
they sat with me.
14-year-old
My cousins
brain.
they rollies. They sat with us and they called with us. 10 o'clock
That's
at night. I don't
that's
think my
that
mom,
14-year-old brain. They was ride or die. Let's go.
man,
Give me those
I don't
yellow
know what the
pages.
plan was. I don't know what that plan was, but that was just a moment where I looked.
Because I want to know, and I know you at this point, you might not even know, but say you had gotten a hold of who you were looking for. What was next?
I have no idea. No, like I don't even like you don't even know if this if he knows y'all exist. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. But you get ready to tell him at 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday.
man, we didn't think that far. We did not think that far.
I love that story. That's got to be right. That's at the top. That's right at the top.
I don't know
That's
what we were
wild.
thinking.
At 10 o'clock, just on the phone, ride or die. Come on,
On the phone,
cousins,
yep.
siblings, everybody.
Mm,
You get a page. You get a page.
that was crazy. That was crazy.
So, okay, so we do this at 14, and you are young. And I know your mama didn't know y'all was down there on that phone. I
They
know
had
she
no
didn't know.
idea.
She'd have been like, get off that phone.
No idea. No
Because
idea.
at 14, there's probably something that she didn't want you to have to run up on. Like, yeah. And that's why it didn't happen, because it wasn't time.
Hmm.
So, tell me the next time that you have a revelation that, okay.
So it was. I was going into my senior year of college, and I think it was right before I turned 21 because my birthday is in August. And I was at my mom's house, and we were sitting at the table, and I was like, "Mom, I got something to tell you." She's like, "Okay." And I was like, "Mom," I was like, I think I'm about to be 21. I think I'm ready to officially start looking
Mm-hmm.
for my family." And she gave me this look, and I was just like, I think I just said something bad. She was like, come downstairs. Me and my mom name is Eva. Me and Eva, we want to talk to you and your sister. So me and my sister, we come downstairs.
Okay.
And I'll never forget my mom. She's sitting on the couch. My mom is like standing by like the bathroom, and she just starts hyperventilating. And I'm just like,
What is happening?
Mom, what's me and my sister? We sitting, we looking. I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, we think we've been in contact with your mom. So I'm like, okay. She's like, I sent her articles of you playing basketball. We found the phone number. We've been calling. And she just started crying. I'm just like, Mom, what's wrong? And she was like, and that cuss word had the nerve to tell me that she don't have no daughters. And she hung up the phone. And then I just snapped. Like, why don't she want to meet me? Why don't she want to?
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Uh-huh.
Hold on. Because the verbiage they used was, we think we've been in contact with your
Yes.
mom.
Yes.
But they weren't for
They weren't
sure.
100% sure, but they had the same address that matched the address from our paperwork.
Gotcha.
Um,
That may or may not have been true.
It may not have been true, right? So, and I was like, well, why didn't y'all want to tell us? And she was like, this is what I was afraid of, that we could be wrong or it could be true.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this reaction of being rejected again.
Mm.
But at that, I wasn't trying to hear that at the time. Like, I felt like they found her and she didn't want to meet me, and I was just
Right.
I was like, that's
Because
it.
now
I'm
this is
not.
20-year-old brain we're talking
Yeah.
to. Right.
I was like,
You're
that's
right.
it. I'm not.
That's
cool. I said, I have my parents, I have my family, I have my sister. That's all I need. And
How did your other sister take the news?
she just sat there, like,
That's a lot.
yeah. She just sat, like, and me and her, we never talked about it, like, ever talked about it until she was
Mm.
like, she'll have moments where she's like, well, Chanelle, if you want to do it, I'll do it with you. So you're not doing it alone. Like, she never
Gotcha.
ever said like, I want to do it because I want to do it too. It was always, well, I'll do it with you because I know you want to do it, kind of thing.
Right. So at 20 now, you're just like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still something on the inside of you that's just not going to let it go, but you just in your feelings
Of course.
for the moment. So how long do we stay in our feelings about this? And how did that affect you? Like, because now I take it you're in college, maybe just about out of college.
A senior year of college. And then I think that year I went into college with like, I'm gonna make people notice me. Like, you don't want to get to know me. I'm gonna make, like, I went in that senior year, and I had one of my best athletic years that year in college. And I graduated, and I
Became a member of the D9.
I graduated and I went on, and that was what, 8 years after that I started again.
Looking. Do you know the kind of, yeah, you got aggressive. You're like, I'm out here. Everybody's going to see me. I'm doing all the things. What makes you decide 8 years later, all right, I think I'm ready to try and pursue this again? I love this.
So I remember I was in my apartment and I was just bored one day. So I was
Not
on social.
bored.
Yep, I was bored one day. It was at nighttime. I got on social media. Always knew her name.
Mm-hmm.
Typed in her name on Facebook. Few profiles came up. You know how you can look at the picture. You can, I don't think
I
that looked
did
like
the
me.
exact same thing. I know
Yeah, so
exactly
I
what you're
said, so
talking
I go to
about. Yeah.
I went to Instagram. A few profiles came up. So I'm just scrolling, looking, and I like click on another page, and it takes me to, like, I guess she had two pages at the time, and it takes me to another page, and I'm still scrolling, and now I'm starting to see pictures of adult children, like, oh, my son this or my son that, and I'm looking, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh,
Because you know you have
I
two
know I
older
have three
brothers.
three
Oh,
brothers,
three.
so I'm looking, I'm just like, I don't see me in this one. I don't see me in this one, and I get to
Mm-hmm.
this one brother, and I'm like, oh shoot,
Yeah, yeah.
that's my sister. Like, I love you, sis. She hates it to this day, but she's him with a wig on. Like, that's how identical they look. So I friend request him. I friend request the other brother.
Wait, let me just understand.
Mm-hmm.
This sibling is
Mm-hmm.
identical to your other sibling,
My younger sister.
your younger sibling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Same complexion and everything. Because all the other ones were all brown skin. These two are light skin.
Identical.
Identical. So impulsive. I friend request him. I friend request the other one. And I friend request the other one. Uh the the brother before me, we 11 months apart. He accepted the friend request first. I instantly start writing him.
Girl, what did you say?
No, he wrote me first. He was like, oh, thanks for the ad. That's at the time when people say thank you for adding them. Oh, thanks
Yeah.
for the ad. Oh, you're welcome. So I'm having a conversation with him, just talking to him. So I don't know how I got on the subject of it. I know I didn't jump into it, but I know
I'm
I
so
kept him
glad you didn't jump
engaged.
into it.
I know I kept him engaged enough to 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 get him to tell me something. So I was like, hey, so I have this friend. Her name is whatever, and she's looking for her mom. And I dropped the mom name, and he says, no, I said she was adopted, and then I dropped the mom's name, and he says, oh, that's crazy. I'm adopted too. My mom name is that too. He says the same name. I said, oh, so is your dad name X, Y, and Z? He was like, no, my dad name is this, but I know this is my mom name. So then I'm at a stall because I'm like,
It must not be a common first name. Your mom's name, like a
it's
Jennifer.
not that common.
Okay.
So I'm like, so that might not be it. So we keep talking. He's like, yeah, I was adopted, but I rekindled with my family. And we're talking. I was like, oh, okay, cool, cool. So I'm going through his pictures, and I stumble across another picture of he had. It's like me, my brother, and my grandma. This is the story because I knew I wasn't going to forget. I look at the lady in the picture, and I'm like, I've seen her before.
Oh.
I've seen her before. I've seen her at work where I worked, on my unit where I worked. And at that,
Stop
where
it.
I worked at the time, the name didn't register. So I could say that her name, Willie Mae Bryan. The
Okay.
name didn't register to me when I was working because I'm working. I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm doing her nails at the table. And she said to me, you look like my granddaughter. I've never seen this woman before. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on a dementia unit. So, we're like, oh, they're just
Yeah.
talking. But
Okay.
clearly she saw her daughter in me because she told, you look like my granddaughter. So as I'm on my brother's page, I'm like, is that Willie Mae Bryan? He says, yes, that's my grandmother. When I so it was a picture of him and the brother that looks like my sister. I screenshot the picture, I crop it, and I send it to my sister. I said, tell me who these two people look like.
And what
She
she
calls
say?
me. She's like, Chanelle, what are you over there doing? I said, no,
What?
I just stumbled. Right.
Sis, she's bored. Sis, she's bored.
I said, no, listen, I just stumbled across this page. I need you to just tell me who they look like. Our other sister is at her house. I hear her on the speaker. She says, Chanelle, that looks like you and Nikki. The other sister
The other
says that.
sister.
So I said, all right, I'm gonna call y'all back. So I hang up. I keep talking to him. We're talking, just talking. End up going to sleep. The next morning I wake up and I just told him the truth. I said, hey, my name
Wait,
is Chanelle.
stop before you get there. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
He never asked you why you know his grandmama? Ask something like that.
He never asked me. Never
Okay,
asked me.
go ahead.
Never.
So you
So
get
the
up the
next
next
morning,
morning. Truth telling.
I wake up. It was on my heart because in my head, I'm like, this is them. This is them. Nobody can tell me that it's not them. It's them. So I said, hey, I told him, I said, my name is Chanelle. My sister name is this. We're adopted. Our biological mom name is this. Our grandmama name is this. And only people in that family would know those names, right?
Right.
So, and I apologized. I told him, I said, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you the truth from the jump. I just didn't want to get my hopes up and it be wrong. But I know for a fact that you are who I know you are. And he was like, thank you for the truth. He was like, my dad always told me that I had a sister or two, but he never could confirm it. So our stories are matching up. So he's like, I'll talk to the other two brothers. They will know more because they're older. Cool. By
Okay,
this
so
time, the
hold
other
on.
two.
I got to ask a question. So this brother, you were like a rumor, like he heard that he had a couple other sisters. He wasn't true. He didn't know for sure.
Right.
But this brother was also taken and
Yes.
adopted. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So we by this I'm going to work this time. The two other brothers, they accepted friend requests. At that time, I end up telling Nikki, like, Nikki, I believe that I found them. So I sent her all the information that I found from Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
She starts messaging them. So now we both tag teaming them, right? No plan. We just attacking them like, you're our brothers, you're our brothers. So finally, the one brother, we do a conference call. The two oldest brothers, me and my sister. And the brother that looks like my sister, he says, I'm going to ask mom, because he was her caregiver at the time. I'm going to ask mom and we'll figure it out. Like, we'll figure it out. We said,
Okay, so by
cool.
now you've connected with all the brothers.
All the brothers.
And now y'all are trying to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me ask this question. Were the brothers okay? Were they receiving? Or did they think you were lying? Or how did they receive you?
They never said we were lying. They never gave us any pushback.
Okay.
And I feel like because we knew all the names, we knew, like, only family,
Yeah.
Nobody could tell you that your son name isn't your son name, right?
Got you. Mm-hmm,
Right. So like
mm-hmm.
they felt like it was some truth to it. They never said we was lying or called us, whatever. They said, we're going to talk to mom and we're going to call you guys right back.
Okay.
So the brother, he calls back and he tells the other brother, I talked to mom. Mom says it's true. She had two daughters. She didn't know their names, but she believed that it's these two. They asked us to send them a picture. We sent the picture. And they said, Chanelle, you are the splitting image of
her.
mom.
Wow.
Like, okay.
How do you feel? Because I know you remember that.
I talked to Nikki and I was like, how do you feel? She was like, I think we should meet her. And my first answer was, I don't want to meet her.
You went
She was
this
like, you
whole
did
time
all of
wanting.
this? You
That's.
want to
I'm
meet her?
getting ready to say the same thing.
I said, I'm too mad. I said, I'm too mad because you knew we were out there
Mm.
and you didn't come, you didn't look for us. And this is why I love my sister. She was like, oh, Chanelle, you never know. You don't know what she was going through. You don't know. And I was like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I said, because they didn't even know. They didn't even know we existed. The older two brothers didn't even know.
Now, where were the other two brothers? Were they adopted as well?
No, they were raised in the family.
Okay, so they raised the family. The other brother was
Adopted.
adopted, came back because he found
Mm-hmm.
them. So they were in reunion. And
Mm-hmm.
then you two show up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know, in your mind, because you're angry, what did you think she should have done? Like, how, like, she should have come to look for us. How? Like, in your mind, what would that have looked like for you?
I feel like you gave birth
Mm-hmm.
because the paperwork shows that you after you gave birth to my sister, you went back to the hospital to see her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your our maternal mom, she had to give consent for us to get adopted because
Right.
they couldn't find her. So your mom knows, but nobody at this time, nobody looked.
So her mother had to give consent because
Yes,
they couldn't. Okay.
because
So
they
your
were
maternal
gonna.
grandmother. Is
Yes,
this
because
the
they were gonna
person?
give us. They were gonna see if she could, if our parents couldn't. They were gonna see if she could raise us because the system knew that she had the older two brothers.
And this is the person that you worked with?
Yes.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
Oh my gosh. So
Wow.
when I made that connection, I was beating myself up like, did I not see them where I was working at? Did I not pay attention? Like I'm beating myself up. Did I not pay attention? Everything.
Why
And the crazy part is when I told my sister that story,
right
she
there?
she said, Chanelle, I met her too. I used to provide care for her too. And it never registered to any of us
So
that
what was it about her that you think should have registered? Was it the name? Was
the
it her
name,
face?
the name, because
Okay.
we knew that name since we were five, and like
Ah,
we were kids. Those names were we knew those names. The mom name, the dad name, the grandma name, the brother's
got you.
name.
So you
Like
knew the name
we
and
knew the names, but it was right there, and we would it didn't register. It did not
it
register.
wasn't time for it to register. It wasn't
It didn't
time.
register.
Because think back. Let's. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Had it
Mm-hmm.
registered at that time, I don't think it would have been like it is. Like it, how it turned
Mm-hmm.
out. It wasn't
I don't
time.
think it would have been either.
It wasn't time. Everything when you there's something about the timing
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing this search and reunion thing. I don't know what that is, but I know it's a thing. Something about that
Yes.
time. It's got to be right.
Yes.
It's got to be right. And she was right there under your nose. And I take it, they never knew your names, or did they?
Because I asked my mom, like my mommy, I said, Mom, I said, who named me? And she's like, I think the nurse at the hospital named you. She said, but I
Okay.
know for a fact that your biological mom, she named your sister. Like, she named her. And I was like, okay. I
Okay.
couldn't
All
get
right.
mad. I wasn't mad at that. I was just always like, okay. So when I met my mom, I asked her, I said, did you know our names?
Oh, wait, hold on. You just skated right to that. What do you mean
Oh,
when you
sorry.
met? We need you. I need you to walk me through this.
Okay. So
How did you meet your mom? Like,
so
when do you?
I remember it. It
Okay.
was August 1st. August is my birthday month, but so my favorite month.
Okay.
August 1st, 2017. I remember Nikki called me. She said, let me go back. When I met my brothers, we all met. My older brother, he flew in from Florida, and we all met at the middle brother.
Hold on. Let me ask you this. Hold on.
Mhm.
Because I keep jumping in. Because questions keep popping in my head.
Mm-hmm.
When do you finally get over being angry and saying, okay, I'm going to move forward and meet these people? How long does that take for that to happen?
It was like a month.
Okay.
It was a
Okay.
month because we talked on the phone. We tried to get to know people. You send pictures back and forth. So it
Yeah.
was like a month, and Nikki was like, Let's just do it. We already here." So
I'm with your sister on
she said,
that.
"Let's just do it." So I met them, my brothers first. I met them first, and then it wasn't weird. It was just you didn't know what to say. Like we just everybody sitting on the couch looking at each other,
It's
just like
weird. No, you're right. It's weird. It's
looking at each
weird.
other, and they're normal, and me and Nikki we just sitting next to each other, just looking, observing, and I'm looking because I'm like we all have the same face,
I'm
like same eyes,
That's so
like
wild. Isn't that wild? When you find your
just
face.
yeah, three brown skin, two light skin. We just
You find
it
your
was so
face.
crazy to me.
So
And then
what did they were they talking to you guys? Like what was the I know you're sitting there in shock, but what are they saying?
they were just having like regular guy talk.
Conversation.
They was like, "You don't like
And
pineapple pizza?" We was like, "No, we don't. Nobody eat pineapple pizza." Like, crazy stuff like that.
but you know the difference too? It's a difference between guys and girls. They
Hmm.
move real different and they
Yeah,
process very different and they're not
and
emotional creatures like we are for the most
yeah.
part.
But they always say, "Oh, we always wanted sisters. Always wanted a sister." And then boom, here
You
y'all
got
go. And then
two.
some of them did. They was like, we're sorry that. He was like, we didn't know. It was like we were young. Like we had no I we did they we didn't know. And I was like, it's not, y'all fault.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
y'all fault.
wild that she was
They like,
pregnant twice and they had no idea.
yeah,
That's
they was like, we
wild.
didn't know. They was like, we had no idea.
So, how long after this do you meet your mom?
Maybe like a couple days later. I know
Oh,
I
this
met them like the end of July.
okay.
Yeah. And then the crazy part is Nikki met her first because she thought she was going to our brother house to drop something off, and it ended up being her house, and he didn't tell her that. So she kind of like walked into it,
Yeah.
and she didn't tell me that until the next day, which happened to be August 1st. And it was like, oh, she's really sick. Nikki, that's when she called me. She was like, Chanelle, I think you need to meet her. And I'm like, why? She's like, Chanelle, she's really sick. Um, and you will be upset if you let this pass and you don't meet her when you have the chance to meet her. So I said, okay. She came, she picked me up. I said, okay. I called my mom and I just break down crying. She's like, Chanelle,
Mm,
what's wrong? What's wrong? And I was just like, I'm like, Mom, I'm sorry. And she's like, why are you sorry? I said, because my whole life, like, y'all loved us. Y'all did X, Y, and Z. And if I ever made you feel like it wasn't enough, it's enough. Like, you're my mom. And she was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't want to meet her because I'm still mad. I'm still mad. And she was like, Chanelle, just let it go. She's like, let it go. She's sick. Just let her go. And she was like, she love you. It's here now. Just, forgive her and move on. And just go. And I felt so bad. Like, Mom, I'm sorry that you knew all this time that I needed to meet her. And if I ever made you feel like I didn't love you or y'all weren't enough, that's not true. And she said that she's like, Chanelle, if I didn't grow up with my mom, I would want to know where I came from too. So I
yeah.
understand. Like, when I tell you my parents are great,
Mm,
but I just cried. I was like, Mom, I just kept saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And she was like, I'm your mom and nobody could ever take that away.
that's
And
right.
she's like,
That's
go.
right.
She said, I'll never forget. She said, give that woman her last dying wish and go meet her. And once my mom gave me the okay, I said, okay, Nikki, I'm ready. And we got in the car, and the whole time I'm rocking back and forth. I'm pinching myself. I'm like, don't be upset. I'm talking myself
Yeah.
through it. Don't be upset. It's just okay. Just don't be. I'm telling myself, don't be upset. Don't be upset. So I remember pulling up to the apartment.
How
Going
far
to the
away did
second.
she live from you?
I was in West Philly. She's in like Germantown.
That
Like
means
20.
absolutely nothing to
I
me.
know you're not from here. So she's like 20 minutes away.
Okay.
20, 30 minutes away by car.
Gotcha. That's close.
And the crazy thing is where my parents live, that's like 7 minutes from where
Oh,
my
man.
parents, where my mom lives. Yeah.
That's like could have ran into the grocery store close.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
You're in the car. You're heading to meet her.
Yep. I get it. I get there, we park, and Nikki, she's just telling me, she's like, Chanelle, she's just really sick. So now I'm thinking the worst. Like, you keep saying she's sick. Now I'm feeling bad because now I was angry. All these emotions going through me.
Mm.
So we get on the elevator. Our brother meet us at the elevator. We go to the room. My uncle opens the door, and the first thing he says out of his mouth, he's like, "You look just like my daughter." And he was like, "I'm your Uncle Bobby." He's like, "But you can call me Bob. It's okay." I gave him a hug. I said, "Okay, cool." I turned the corner, and she's sitting right there on the couch with the oxygen on. And I just look like I'm looking at
At your.
myself, and I just look like
Oh,
it's
wow.
really her. Like, it's really her. So I go over, I give her a hug, I sit down, and she puts her hand on my knee, and she looks at me, and she was just like, thank you for coming to see me. And she was like, I'm so sorry. I know you have questions. I'll answer any of the questions that you want, but
Mm.
just thank you. And I'm just looking like
You
all the
found your
anger,
face.
everything I felt, it went away. Like, I couldn't believe that I achieved that goal of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
finding her. And then my sister, she's sitting next to me. Mind you, she already met her the day before, so
Well, she
her
didn't tell
nerves are
you that,
gone.
or do you know that by now?
Yeah, I know that by now.
Okay.
She met her the day before, and then she asked. She was like, "Well, who's older?" Because we're 2 years apart. And I said, I'm Chanelle. I'm the oldest one. And she was just like, "Okay." And I didn't really say much. I just sat there, and she was just like, "Your hair. This is where you get your hair from. Your thick hair. This is just how my hair was when I was younger. The cheekbones." And I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, I can't believe, like, small in stature, just like me. I'm just like, I can't believe it. I
Do you
just
know what her illness, or do you mind sharing what her illness
I know
was?
she had like jaw cancer before, and
Okay.
then I think like ever since that, like she just kept having more complications.
Okay.
But yeah, that was August 1st, 2017. Was
How long did you
today.
sit with her?
I think we sat for like 2 to 3 hours.
So you bombard her with questions, or were you just too?
I did one. I know I asked her. I know I asked her, like, "Did you ever look for us?" And she was like, "I looked a few times." She's like, "But I didn't know your names."
That's why I asked you that question early on. What did that look like for you
Yeah.
in your mind when you were upset that she didn't come looking for you?
So to
Because a
hear
lot
her
of,
say, like, I looked, but I didn't know your name. So I was like, okay, so she did try. So okay.
and sometimes, especially for those of us that had closed adoptions, they have nothing.
Yeah.
So unless you take some kind of DNA test,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe. But just going out and trying to find, their chances are probably slim to none to finding you, because your name is probably going to be different and they're not going to know that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's why.
Man, I remember, man, like, I being an adult, and I don't have children yet. I have conversations with my parents, and I asked them, like, what made you ask? Because they asked all of us, like, what made you ask us if we wanted to change our names? Like, would y'all have been upset if we said we
Mm.
wanted to keep our biological last names?
And what they
And
say.
they said, they was like, no, we were okay with whatever y'all wanted to do because we wanted y'all to be comfortable.
Yeah, some dope parents for sure. For
Yeah, so
sure.
I know for a fact. I don't even remember having a middle name as a child, but I know what my name was on paper, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I do not like that middle name. No way. And I asked my biological mom, I said, where did you get that name from?
What'd she say?
And she was like, well, I said, always said if I ever have daughters, I would name them Nicole and Arnika. And that Arnika was my middle name. I said, I hate to tell you, but
I
that
got rid.
name is ugly.
I hate to tell you this, but I've gotten rid of that.
I said, that
Oh my
does
gosh.
not flow.
Chanelle, what is it again?
It was my birth name was Chanelle Arnika White.
Chanelle Arnika. That's a no for you.
It's a huge no.
um, is your birth mother still with us?
No, no, she passed 2 months after we met.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So let me say this. I think I know why our conversation, because we were supposed to talk a while ago, and I got sick. I was traveling. It didn't happen. But I think I now know why it didn't happen, because I needed to have the experience that I had in that time period. Because I had found my birth father in November 2023 and I lost him 4 months later. And there's something about adoptees experiencing that kind of grief that nobody else can understand unless you've walked into those shoes. And I often say that when you start this search and reunion, be ready for anything. But what I neglected to say, because I didn't know to say it, but I know to say it now, be ready for if and when you lose that person that you went and found. What happens then? Do you mind sharing with me what that was like for you 2 months later?
That was hard because I remember going to the hospital with my brother because he was POA because he was her caregiver.
Okay.
And I remember I was looking out the window, and I was just crying because I just knew. I was like, it's not. We don't have much time. So we was all at the hospital, and they wanted her to stay, but she was like, no, I want to go home. So she went home on hospice, and we were there every day. And like the night before it happened, she in the bed, and I was holding her hand, and I told her, I was like, she was like, I'm just so happy, I'm so happy, like all my kids know each other now. Like she kept saying it, and then I told her, I was like, I'm not ready for you to go. I was like, I said this is we didn't have enough time. Like I'm not ready. And she's like, I stayed long enough to do what I needed to do, and that was to make sure y'all knew each other. And I was like, you can't go yet. Like it's so much more we gotta talk about. And she was like, baby, I'm sorry, I'm tired. I'm tired. And I was like, it's okay. I said, I'm gonna be okay. I said, I'm gonna be okay. And she's like, you sure? I said, yes. I said, I have Nikki. I'm going to be okay. And then 6 a.m. that morning, my brother called me. And he was like, she's gone. I felt, I just knew it. I was like, and Nikki came over, and Nikki cried. My sister's not a crier. And you would think she was the older sister when you meet her, because that's just how she carries herself. And she just cried. I've never seen her cry like that before. And this is how I knew she was holding it in, because I expressed it so much. Like she just cried, and I just held myself. We just laid in the bed and just cried.
It's a
Just
different kind of
cried.
grief.
We never cried like that before.
It's a different kind of grief.
And then it was time to plan the service. Mind you, we just met her 2 months ago. Who's at the table doing the obituaries, picking out the outfits? Us. And Nikki made a post about it. She's, when I tell you, you wouldn't know nothing about her. She does the first time she ever posted anything about being adopted. The first time, and I was just so so proud of her for finally letting it out. And I was just like, the best thing God did was make sure that we had each other. Like, when I tell you I don't know where I would be without my sister, like the logo is my hand and my nephew hand.
Oh,
My like that because those are that was the only bloodline I knew
yeah.
until then. But man, like yeah, but our yeah, the
How is your relationship now with your brothers?
we don't talk like that. Is
Okay.
the one that resembles my sister. He checks in a little more, but it's nothing happened. It's just we
Yeah,
just
it just,
you
I
know we
get it.
just
I get it.
but our cousins, our first cousins, we which is crazy because they were teenagers when we were born. So
Okay.
their moms knew
Mm-hmm.
and they knew, but they were teenagers, so they didn't know what to ask.
Yeah, they just
So
knew
one of them
that.
always said, when social media came around, she said, "I knew y'all were gonna find us.
Mm,
I knew y'all were gonna find us." They said we couldn't look because nobody knew y'all names. It was a mystery, but their moms knew. And she said when social media came, she said, "I knew y'all somebody was gonna find us."
so let me ask you this, because I know what my experience was. At your mother's service, is this the place where you meet all this extended family?
Yes,
That's a lot.
and that was the first time I saw my biological dad in person
I was
because
going to ask
they
you.
weren't
I was
together.
coming around that corner. I just wanted to get over this hump about
Mm-hmm.
if you got the information about your biological dad.
Yep, the first time we saw him, and it was just
Did he
you
know
could
that
hear
you
the
existed?
whispers, like people like, "Oh, I didn't know she had daughters," or like
Yeah.
you could hear it.
Yeah.
And me and my sister were sitting in the front row, and you hear, "Oh, I didn't know she had daughters." And yeah, our parents came, and they were sitting right
For
behind
sure.
us. And I'm just like, it's crazy. You just
Did your dad know that that you guys existed?
story I was told from the brothers was that he said he didn't have any daughters. So I don't know if he knew
Hmm.
or if he honestly saying that he didn't have any daughters. I've
Okay.
never had a conversation with him.
Okay.
Never,
No DNA test or nothing
like
like that. Just
nothing.
to,
I've never. He's on the paperwork because we all have the same dad except for
yeah.
the one
I
before
found out
me.
that paperwork don't mean a whole lot sometimes.
Yeah. So he said what he said. I didn't take offense to it,
yeah.
but I met him at the service, and I gave him a hug. He gave us a hug, and he was like, "You can call me such and such," but I've never had any communication with him after that.
After that, I understand. And do you know if your mom, and your mommy had found the right person? Because remember, you said that whoever they were communicating with said she didn't have any daughters.
So she told me that the address was whatever Clearfield or Clear something street like that.
Mm-hmm.
I asked my brothers about that address, and that's the house that they grew up in.
Mm.
So they said we don't know who could have answered the phone during that time. He said, but
Yeah,
that number and address is correct.
it's correct.
So they said they don't know who could have answered it at that time.
Your
Yeah.
story, girl.
Yeah.
Whew, I wasn't ready. I was not ready. Um, if you had anything to say to our fellow adoptees who feel angry, like they get all this information, they're just angry, what would you say to them?
You are allowed to feel how you feel. No one cuz no one can tell you how to feel because people assume sometimes the worst from our community, and I don't think that's fair because we all don't come from those sad horror stories, right? And some it's tough because I can only speak from, where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I came from love. I came from protection. I was afforded to do everything that all the other kids in the family did. And you never felt like an outcast. You didn't. I don't know what foster care or adoption feels like, because we were never treated as if these weren't our parents, and
Mm-hmm.
you weren't my cousin, and you weren't my aunt. So
I
you
love
are
that.
allowed to feel how you feel.
I love that because I have that same testimony and I say it often. I, I don't have that horror story. That's
Yeah.
not my testimony. But it still never took away from the fact that I wanted to know. Just like it never, you, the exact same thing. You just wanted to know. Because I knew I didn't look like anybody either.
Yeah.
And I want to know.
I knew I didn't. Like, I have qualities of my parents. Like,
Of course, they raised you. Of
right. Like, my
course.
mom, like, she's super smart. Super smart. My mom, she was an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So I always I learned sports from my mom. She would ride bikes with us. She would skate
Mm-hmm.
with us. She would be in the backyard with us. But the one true fact that I know is true is that I don't know if you followed basketball, if you ever heard of him. A basketball player, he used to play for the Sixers. When I was a kid, my mom used to always say, "You should write him," and I was like, "Why?" He said, "Cause y'all, his last name is the same last name as my biological mom last name."
Okay.
And she's like, "You should write him. Y'all might be related. You never know." And I was like, "I'm related to an NBA player? No way." But it was true.
It was true. Wow. Did you ever write? Girl, write that letter.
No, I don't like. What would I? Story has it that same last name came from both the paternal side and the maternal side. So I wouldn't even know
Well, it sounds to me like you need to go
which
and take a
side
DNA
of the
test and
family.
figure it out. Go ahead and take that DNA
What
test
side of
and
the
get
family?
all the questions answered.
Yeah, he's still in Philly. Like, when I met like cousins and stuff, I asked them, like, does anybody play basketball? Like, is anybody in the family play basketball? So I did find out that the older cousins, like, really good in basketball. My younger cousins, they're good in basketball. 3 of my cousins went to Lincoln University. I went to Lincoln University.
Okay.
Like,
That's wild. That is so cool. And I'm so glad that you set out on that journey and that your sister said, all right, girl, we have come this far. We are meeting these people. And you
yeah,
pulled me along with you.
she said it. She said it. We
So I
came this
love
far.
your sister for that, for sure.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for coming and sharing your story. I
Thank
now know
you.
why we didn't speak until now. I get it. I get it. Hang
Thank you. I
on one
appreciate it.
second. Hang on one second. And until next week, bye, family.
Journey, journey, on. You need a pie with the good, good. Oh yeah, what the store?